far away.
What's up, you guys? Happy Tuesday. How are we? I got a mosquito bite, so. All right.
Wow. Before we get started, one thing I want to say is those that responded to yesterday's video, just want to honestly say a heartfelt thank you. Reading through everyone's comments and everything else obviously means a lot to us, and just appreciate the love and support that we've always had, through all these things that we've gone through, and just just the sentiments behind it. So just want to say thank you for the response and the comments yesterday.
So what we want to talk about today is last night we did some reflecting, and it's an interesting place to be in. Never would have. What are you smiling about?
Chair is
Get off my chair. All right, guys. So
boarding me.
never would have imagined that there would be a government shutdown that would close the door to our gym for 3 months. Never would have imagined there would have been statements said by the CEO of the brand that we affiliate with that would have sort of shook our world. Never realized any of this. But then last night we were talking, and I was like, it's strange because if you say all of the things that have happened and there's more behind the scenes stuff going on that we can't talk about, maybe giving you a $17,000 bill from your landlord for back things that they forgot to charge us for, right? The stuff that's happened really should have spun us into struggle and hustle and all of those things. And so we were thinking about last night, I was like, what's weird is that through all of this, we have been able to take it in stride, see it as change, see it as an opportunity to open our eyes to different things, to actually grow with it, to do all of those things. And so I was really thinking about, and I wrote a post about it, I haven't posted it yet, but what would have happened to us 3 years ago? And the shifts that have happened inside of us, and how we actually have been at peace, right? We love and appreciate you guys. And yes, this is hard, but in the same breath, I don't feel like I'm in chaos or collapse or struggle like I know I would have 3 years ago, right? So we were reflecting on well, what's happened for us in the last 2 years that have allowed us to be in this place where if you look from the outside looking in, sort of everything is collapsing. Because 3 years ago, had this happened, we would have been a disaster, right? The gym may have not made it just because of the fact of we didn't have the emotional capacity to handle things like this, from a place of love and from a place of observation, right? And so we were talking about why have we created Shift, right? Where did the whole Shift program come from? And it came out of this because we've been in that place of struggle and stress and our environment determining what's happening to us, and we've been without the tools to how do we actually look at these things? How do we do this from a place of love and creation? And so we were just talking about all the stuff that's changed for us, and that's exactly why we're so passionate about what we do with Shift, is because we want every single one of you guys to have the tools and the power and the knowledge of yourself so that no matter what happens in your life, you're able to understand that it's all happening for you in perfect timing. You're able to go, okay, what does this actually mean for my life? What do I need to take out of it? How do I grow from it? How do I ask better questions, right? How do you let everything in your life be a place of growth and honor and shifting versus oh my gosh, why is this happening to me? Struggle, hustle, frustration, all of that kind of stuff.
Good?
Yep. Get off my chair.
I'm trying to. I need to get in the video here. Somebody's camera hogging here. So with that, you guys, yet again, I think it's important, and it's kind of the reason why we talked about the stance and the kind of the process that we're taking regarding kind of looking at all standpoints of our business. But that's one thing that we've learned, right, is to, instead of being in reaction mode, which so many of us are, right? That sense of we don't have any control, we don't have any sense of say, we don't have any of those things in our own life on a day-to-day aspect, because we're always trying to put out fires or reflect or do all these things, where, for us, it's being able to learn to be able to, step back out of the chaos and the currents and the turmoil and everything else that oftentimes would spin us prior to this, and that's one of the questions we get a lot for is well, what is essentially different about you guys as coaches, or what makes this platform different, or all these other things? And it's because first and foremost, the things we were talking about is this all came organically from us experiencing it, right? I was thinking about to myself my last term of making it to regionals as a CrossFit athlete, right? From the outside in, right? We had a very successful gym. I was going to go compete to be potentially competing to be one of the fittest people in the world, right? We had kids, we had
We
had a kid, and
we had a newborn.
We had a newborn, right? Like we have friends, we have family, we have all these things to support and everything else. But I know for me personally, my world was like just crumbling, right? I was super unhappy. Nothing was good enough. My performance on a day-to-day basis wasn't good enough, and I would take it out on her, which in turn would also reflect it to me being argumentative and just rough to our own clients and our own people and the people around us, and just how much my own energy was affecting literally every person that would come in the door. Like I've had conversation over the last 3 years of like, oh yeah, we knew what if you went in, if you were in the gym or you weren't in the gym. We knew if you were having a bad day, what was going on. Like just on an energy standpoint, right? Like it was that side of like everyone was walking on pins and needles, but from the outside in, everything seemed all good, like everything must be amazing, right? And so it was through that process for myself of seeing, you know what, things have to change, right? Like things have to change. I may be checking off all the box of what I've been told that I should be able to have and feel happy, but I wasn't, right? And so being able to look at that from an actual perspective of, you know what do I need to do for myself to be able to create love and happiness within myself? So that way in turn, it's going to create a better relationship with her. It's going to create a better role model for my kids. It's going to be able to create and cultivate a better relationship with the athletes and our clients that we try to work with on a day-to-day basis, right? Like all these things all work together. And for us to be able to kind of look and reflect and really kind of almost laugh, almost just on a humorous level of all the things that have transpired over the last, 3.5 months. And we've all gone through that, right? Like, I'm sure you can look and review that in your own life of like, oh my Lord, like what just happened, right? But at the same time, for us, I know for myself, like I would have gone and created a lot more work for myself to do. I would have avoided, I would have been sleeping on the couch. I would have been argumentative. I would have been rough. She wouldn't be able to talk to me. I wouldn't even be willing to listen to what she had going on because I would be so tied up in my own crap that I was dealing with, right? Not to mention, there would probably be no way in hell I'd be able to help our daughter with homeschooling or do those kind of things because I would be so wrapped up in trying to over-exercise, get so perfected on my nutrition and all these other things that I was trying to use as avoiders for what I was really feeling and experiencing in my life. And so these are the reasons why this means so much to us, and why from a coaching standpoint, it's not pull-ups and push-ups and what you eat and your macros and everything else. Do those things play a part in what we do? Yes. But now they went from playing about this much of a part to like this much of a part, right? And realizing that for most of us, I mean, honestly, it's for all of us, 80% of the equation is psychological. 20% of it is skill and work and everything else. But it's usually the psychological that holds us back and keeps us from achieving the things that we want to achieve. And that's why we've transcended, and that's why we've shifted into a different realm of working with people through all these elements, because we all hold the tools. You hold the tools, you hold the answers, you hold all those things within yourself right now. It's just sometimes you need somebody else to wipe off the fog on the glass for you to actually see that.
Well, I think really this just came to me when you were talking, like it's shifting the lens, right? Like when we were in that place, we were searching for happiness and everything outside of ourselves, right? Like, and you've heard me say this about my food and body story, and it's the same for him with exercise. Like we were hoping this external thing was going to give us an internal feeling that we were never going to find, right? And so what has happened and what we want to happen for you guys is that you cultivate those feelings inside of you. Because it only comes from the inside, right? Like it doesn't matter. You create it first in your brain and in your mind and in your body, and then the outside world will follow, right? But we all think like this outside world dictates how we feel. And that's probably why we don't feel the way we used to feel. Because right now we're like, no, we're internally every single day doing the things we need to do to make sure that we foster the emotionality and the spirituality and the creation of our life, so that internally we create what we want and then externally it shows up. So when the world appears to fall apart around us, it doesn't matter because the external world is not giving us happiness. And honestly, you guys, that is the biggest thing that has changed for us. And the thing that we want all of you guys to understand is that if you're looking for the outside world to give you happiness, which you may not imagine you're doing, but if you're looking for the job, the partner, the house, the body, the six-pack, the love life, like any of those things, that's never going to bring you what you want. It's never going to bring you purpose, fulfillment, joy, gratitude. None of that comes from the outside world. Is that a value add to your life? For sure. But if you cultivate that and learn that you can create that every single day in your life by doing simple steps like breath work or meditation or stretching or just slowing the F down and thinking about who you are and what you want to be, like you can create that in your life. And when you do that, you become sort of bulletproof, right? Like the world it can't jack with you, right? Because you're like, I have control of my energy and my emotions and I'm feeling it all, right? Like yesterday, both of us just kind of needed to cry, right? Like I'm back in working with my mentor in a group program, and oh my God, I needed that last night, right? And this is why we do groups, because we need that, right? And I got into that safe space and we started with the meditation and I was like, holy crap, I just need to cry, right? Like I just need to be with this. It's an end of an era no matter what we decide to do. And that's okay, right? But in the midst of that, I'm also like, it's okay to cry because it doesn't mean that I'm weak. It doesn't mean I can't handle it. It doesn't mean any of those things. It just means this is an emotion that I'm experiencing with this scenario. And by getting to love all parts of us, all of that becomes easier, right? And that's why we're doing a beta shift program in July. So just for you guys that are following along. So we're going to start in July. It's going to run through mid-October. So it's going to be 16 weeks. But this is the stuff, like this is the outcome we want you guys to have. We want you to understand that hustle and stress and worry and all of the external things you think you're fighting for aren't what you really want, right? And so when we talk about it, it's like, what's the outcome? It's like happiness and joy and understanding of yourself and like true awareness around your life. Because when you have that, you can create anything you want, right? But without that, you're going to struggle forever to try to get to those places and fight your way to those places when it's actually slowing down, it's actually going inward, it's actually doing all of that stuff. And I think for us, like we've talked about the shutdown, it was an opportunity for us to go inward. It was an opportunity for us to slow down. It was an opportunity for us to serve and show up for you guys every single day and just teach you guys what we've been through. And that's all we want to do in this world is transfer this feeling to you and give you the tools so you can do it every single day in your life and then affect the people around you, because that is how change happens in the world.
Well, just like Courtney said, right? Like, I know for us, by me growing, it's growing our relationship. Mm-hmm. It's growing my relationships around me. It's been able to be a better role model for my kids. It's been able for me to arrive and show up as a different person for my kids, right? And understand, instead of getting angry and frustrated and pissed off and yelling at them and doing all the things that I probably would have done before, I've been able to understand that, and identify what do they need right now, right? Like what questions do I need to ask? What do I need to ask myself to be able to meet them at the level they're at, right? And like, I swear to my core, the more we do this for ourselves, all this stuff we're experiencing right now in our world would diminish
massively,
almost like that. Right? Like it's the more we have an understanding, the more we come from love for ourselves, the more these things will literally disappear for ourselves, right? Like, am I going to say like this will always be gone and everything else? No. It's human nature. This has been around since the dawn of human beings, right? But at the same time, it's within our own power to understand ourselves. And so that way, when we do have times of turmoil and anger and frustration and everything else, and we tend to lash out at somebody else, we can, in that moment, identify it and actually see what the hell's going on, instead of letting it brew for 15 years and then all of a sudden it turns into a he said, she said, all these things, and then all of a sudden it creates more stories that we continue passing down to our kids, right? Like, really, when you get down to it, the only way that this problem's ever going to end is if we stop passing our own crap, our stories, our beliefs, our interactions down to our kids and younger generations, because we can lead by example and lead from the front, not by what we say, but by our actions, right? And so, but in order to do that, we have to change the level in which we're changing a problem, right? Like, yet again, Einstein said this forever ago. You can't solve a problem in the same environment or from the same level it is caused. In order for you to transcend and for us to change any problem, right? Like whether it's the things we're dealing with now, whether it's the things that you're going to have to deal with a year from now, or whatever the things you're still holding on to from 20 years ago, right? Like in order to do that, you have to change the level and change the environment, which is usually change your understanding and change the way that you look and the way that it means to you, so you can ask a different question, which is going to in turn get a different result in what you're searching for, right? And so, but these have to be broken down and come from a different area that you probably aren't even aware of.
Well, and here's the thing I think about, like, on a responsibility level. I mean, if you guys know much of my story about why I joined my program, was because I actually finally had the awareness that I'd had actual eating disorders and disordered eating and body image and all this stuff for a long time. And I had 2 little girls, and I was like, it is the last thing I'm going to do is pass this on to them. And I don't care who you are, what you've had in your life, you've had trauma, big or small, you have stories, you have beliefs that are shaping you, that have shaped you. That is not your fault, but it is your responsibility to heal them, to shift them, and to change them so that you don't subconsciously pass it on to your kids. Because who you are and how you show up is going to your kids, right? And so, like, it is not your fault of anything that's ever happened to you, but it is your responsibility to heal it and to fix it for yourself, for your own happiness, but for everybody and all the generations, your kids, your grandkids, your nephews, your nieces, for everyone around you. It's your responsibility to wake up in consciousness, to rise above that, to choose to heal. And when we do that, the whole world and the whole level of consciousness and awakening is going to change, but it has to start with you.
So, and I think, you know, because I think, yet again, when certain words get thrown out as far as like consciousness, meditation, whatever, consciousness, all it is just an awareness of being a good person, right? Like, it's just a consciousness of like, what I do is going to affect her, what I say, how I show up, what all these things is going to affect you. I can't make you feel a certain way, right? Like, your interpretation and what you attach to that is the way you get your feelings, but how I show up, it's the same thing as the energy aspect, right? How I show up will affect that, and having a sense of compassion, right? Because yet again, if we all have compassion and a level of empathy, right? Like, you don't want to be fully empathetic and just take on everyone else's stuff. But at the same time, if you can have compassion and empathy and awareness and just consciousness overall for yourself and just for basically the outside world, yet again, that will transcend so far.
Yeah, I mean, awareness is the key to everything. But we could go on about this forever. So anyway, hopefully that helps. We appreciate everything that you guys reached out to yesterday. So, you know, again, we want to hear your thoughts and your feelings and all of that. But really, if you feel like you're in a place where I keep seeing this meme of like, when's 2020 going to end? Well, guess what? It's not. And the year doesn't effing matter. And it's like, you get to choose right now, right? And so if the last 3 months you haven't chosen yourself, stand up, choose yourself, decide to shift, decide to become aware of your own life and your own being. You have time, right? I don't care what the year is. I don't like, all of a sudden when January comes, nothing changes, right? So like, choose today that you're going to show up as a different person tomorrow. Choose that you're going to be the better version of yourself. Choose that you're going to find help. You're going to get a coach. We have multiple coaches. Like, we don't do this stuff alone. I mean, like, everyone needs coaches, right? Like, find a community, find a connection, find someone that can help you do this, whoever that person might be. If it's us, that's amazing. If it's not, that's cool too, right? Like, but choose to show up for yourself, choose to show up differently, choose to find some awareness, and with that, everything will change. So we love you guys. We hope you're having an awesome Tuesday. We've got some sunshine back in Colorado, so we'll be back on tomorrow. If you guys have any questions and anything you want us to elaborate on, please let us know. We are here to show up and serve for you guys. Anything else?
I think so.
All right, we're gonna go have lunch. All right, guys, take care. Have a great day.
Thanks, y'all.